There's a report here from Mary Kay Cabot, and Mary Kay is going to join us in about an hour and 20, okay? And she's got a photo out there right now with Deshaun Watson talking to Kenny Pickett in the pregame, but Deshaun is making his first road trip of the season to be on the sidelines with Shedeur Sanders, and Mary Kay went into the connection that the two of these have formed, a working relationship that the two of these have formed, and really how much Deshaun has tried to help out Shedeur Sanders, not only in getting ready for this week, but then obviously in making the flight out there. We don't know when Deshaun is going to be activated, but I do think it's interesting that he is on the sidelines for today's game. He's not traveled yet this season with the Browns.
Well, you got a lot of eyes. The more eyes you have as a young quarterback, the better. And if he has a great relationship, maybe they've watched film together. Maybe they've built that relationship, especially professionally, how they watch film. When Deshaun was brought here, he had an incredible 2020, and he did so many good things on film, breaking down what he saw. So maybe an extra set of eyes that you trust, that's a great thing. The more, the merrier.
Well, Bill Musgrave has talked about how much Shedeur has helped out, how much Deshaun, has helped out Dylan Gabriel on the sidelines. Like during home games. He doesn't travel on the road. It's only during home games, but Musgrave has talked about how important that has been for Dylan to have Deshaun there. And even this week, Mary Kay has talked about how he has helped Shedeur assimilate the game plan and get ready for the game and basically have himself ready. I do wonder if they look at him as almost a pseudo coach in order to be not only someone that's a teammate and someone that he can trust, but someone that is like a coaching figure in the moment to be like, hey, this is what's going on. This is how you see this. You see this as a pretty big advantage, I would imagine.
Oh, absolutely. And you're getting a guy who has to keep himself sharp too. He wants to come back and prove to people he can still play. So this is mentally, he's keeping himself sharp on how people are using coverages and how blitzes and fronts. He's mentally got to keep himself. There's an element of I got to do the right thing by me too, and I think he's not only helping his teammates, but it's also keeping him sharp mentally for when he comes back.
Oh, so this is a one hand wash of the other type thing. This is just as good for Deshaun as it is for Shedeur.
Absolutely, it'll keep him mentally sharp in what he sees. When you get those mental reps, they talk about all the time. This is very important. So as he's coaching, you do that all the time as a coach. You make your players explain stuff to you. So as he's explaining, he's helping himself as well.
216-474 to below 92. Are you expecting a win today, Coach?
Yes, I am. I'm expecting a dominant win, especially up front.
Dominant win?
Yeah.
I want to say, save your score until later on. You're expecting a dominant win today.
Yeah,
I like this.
And the score might not dictate just because they've had issues getting in the end zone, but sometimes a dominant, that means up front.
Yeah, we've only scored 20-plus points one time this season.
And it could be 14-7, but it could still be dominant because they can physically control, I think, the Raiders up front on both sides of the ball.
All right, 216-474 to below 92. Are you expecting a dominant win today by the Browns? I said I would not vote for them or choose them in any sort of, hey, what's your prediction capacity? After that Jets game, I said I was out. I was done. And then on Friday, I turned into a guarantee Gary because I just got wrapped up in the moment, but I feel good about it as well. I think a win is on the horizon. If they don't win this game today, Coach,
not good.
I mean, gloves are off when it comes to even thinking this team has a chance against anybody the rest of the season. Even that lowly Titans game, you just have to believe that they're not even trying at this point if that's how this goes down. Like, not from the coach's perspective, they're always trying, but you know what I mean. Like, as if the deck really was stacked against them, and we're not going to see any sort of good, not only games, but good wins the rest of the season.
I tell you what, if I've been wrong many, many times in football, but if this defensive line for Cleveland does not absolutely dominate the line of scrimmage, I'd be shocked. I've watched 7 games of the Raiders.
I don't know how Geno's going to score.
He can't get to the top of his drop against teams who are defensively are not even half as good as the Browns, especially with pressure. So once again, I've been wrong before, but it's the NFL, and Sunday to Sunday is always different. But the matchup, that's simply the matchup I'm thinking about.
We'll get to your phone calls in a second, but go deeper into that. Why is it that Geno has looked good in the previous few years in Seattle? It can't be that Seattle's got like the world's greatest offensive line. They've been losing offensive line coach. It's where we got Dickerson from. Like, they've been losing coaches left and right, it feels like, and it's not as if year in, year out they're a dominant offensive line. What's going on with Geno?
Well, I'll tell you this right now. If you don't run the ball at all and there's no threat from the defensive line, if they don't have to play run at all, so if it's a Mason Graham going against the guard, if he does not have to worry about getting trapped or doubled or anything in the run game, and he can just pin his ears back and get in that B gap and go, Pass rush is a lot easier. If you can marry the run with the pass, which I heard all summer from the Browns offensive linemen, that's what the Raiders can't do right now. So everybody who's playing the Raiders, they can't run it against light boxes. So there's coverage, and they can't pass protect.
Yeah, a Pete Carroll team always runs the ball, though. And what's amazing is on Monday, it was like 34 pass to 6 run. And they draft Ashton Genty, 6 overall. You'd expect him to, with the best running back in the draft, supposed to be a Walter Payton-esque type figure. And they're just not pulling it off.
Well, they try to get the ball in the outside to him. They cannot, anything between the tackles, they absolutely can't do. So when you say, what's wrong with Geno, it's more for me that offensive line and the fact that they can't run it at all, and the defensive line is just pinning their ears.
But why is it that, okay, so break this down for me. I'm genuinely just curious to find out, because you're the all-22, you're the expert on this one. Why is it that Ashton Genty, who's supposed to be better than Quinshon Judkins in every sort of measurement, has a better offensive line than what this Browns offensive line is? Because this Browns offensive line is the worst in the sport right now. Why is it that the Browns have a semblance of a run game, even though it's a lot of yards after contact for Judkins? He's doing great in that measurement, but then with Genty's just a big nothing burger.
Well, I will say this. The offensive line for the Browns, they haven't been good at all, but the run game, they've been a little bit better. Interior-wise, they do get a little bit more movement, even though those guys haven't been great either. But the run game's a lot different than the pass game, so a lot of what I measure to how the Browns have played this year is they've been very poor in pass protection.
Yeah.
KT Levinson, those guys have been okay in the run game. Cam Robinson was much better last week, especially with the gap scheme. So that would say that. The Raiders absolutely get no movement inside. Putnam he played center and guard. He's really struggling against any guys who have any type of power. Glaze, the one tackle.
I mean, the PFF run block grades for the Browns and the Raiders are essentially identical.
I would say, and
that's just in the run block.
And I don't think, and then the other thing about Genty is that he is good out of the backfield. He's very, very, very poor in pass protection. So they get him out all the time. So there's a lot of things that tie into that, right?
That's interesting. One of the interesting parts of the what happened with Shedeur last week, Jerome Ford typically is pretty good in that regard. He was awful in that Ravens game with pass protection and helping out Shedeur in any sort of way. There was a lot of different plays that if you go back and look at it, he was a laying out there.
Well, and you're right. Two things. One is he did it very poorly, and he's usually been really solid at that. And he's got a thick lower body, which I think makes him a really good third down back because you can keep him in there, run with him. He can pass protect if they're going to bring 5 or 6. So, yeah, last week he was very poor, especially with those interior stunts, those A and B gap stunts where a back has to, we used to say, put his face in the fan. It's not going to feel good, but that's what he's got to do.
In my head, I don't envision a world where it just looks lackluster. But maybe that's me living a little delusional. I'm not entirely sure. And I understand. Listen, Coach, I fully get the idea that you do not have a great offensive line. You do not have great pass catchers. There's going to be penalties in this game, kind of like in that first drive that Shedeur had last week, where he made 2 completions that should have been enough for a first down, but got knocked back because of penalties. Like, there's going to be plays like that happen and drives like that happen, and it's going to drive me up the wall. But today's the day. In many ways, and I get it, you're a rookie, and this is your first start, and so it's a lot for me to say today's the day and you have to look good, but today is the day to look good, Shedeur. You got one chance. You got one opportunity. Let's go Eminem on it. But you got one real opportunity with this Browns team to show them what you can do. You got to take it and run with it.
Well, I don't think that, not delusional at all. It's the idea of what's the other option. The other option is, of course, the Browns are going to lose. Going in like that, if we think like that, they think like that, there is no chance to win. The idea of optimism and what he brings to the offense, that's important. And if it brings energy, it brings juice. That's all important stuff. If you're 2-8, you're looking for anything to get yourself motivated. This does not feel like a 2-8 team. They've played poorly, but the idea of going in with positive vibes, whether you're a fan, coach, player, that's all important. I will always be like that because I'm not losing a game before I play it. And I think you're spot on. What he brings to the table, let's see what he can do. Positive, negative. There's been a lot of narrative. Let's just see what he can. I'm excited to see him play.
All right, 216-474 to below 92 in a battle of Max Crosby versus Myles Garrett. Yeah, we have to worry about Max Crosby, sure, but in a game that features Myles Garrett, we think Max Crosby's going to want to set the NFL record in this one. I just don't see it.
Well, and the Raiders like to get, for me, schematically, it comes down to what you like to do. The Raiders like to get 5 out, so they're not helping right now. They're not going to help a ton. And if Genty's in the game, he doesn't pass protect or chip very well.
Yeah.
So the Browns. They haven't done it as well this year, but over the course of Kevin's tenure here, he's outstanding at taking defensive ends out of games with chipping. And if you see when they go their little double wing, it's really not empty. They're chipping on the defensive end. So I expect, because of the weakness of the other 3, and they're not very good, they're going to. I'd be shocked if Crosby is an impact. Now he might have sack because he's that talented, but I'd be shocked if he is a tremendous impact on this game because I think the Browns are going to run at him and they're going to chip him on every pass play.
So tell me what you think is going to happen with Myles Garrett today, though, and tell me some of the differences that you've seen. One thing I find interesting: past couple weeks. You know, it feels like an NBA game. Where an NBA game, sometimes they just kind of let a player go off. And they're like, all right, we're not going to be able to defend LeBron today. So, LeBron, you get your points, and we'll just make sure we clamp down everybody else. We've seen this in different parts in different NBA games, right? What's happening defensively? Is it like that with Myles Garrett when you have to worry about Isaiah McGuire, Malik Collins, Mason Graham, all these other guys, or is he still beating the 2 and 3 team double teams that he had for years past? Where is the pressure? Where's the opponents coming from in trying to match up with Myles Garrett?
Well, first of all, the teams that have chipped him lately have done a terrible job. That initial chip guy has done an awful job. They got to make sure they attack the outside shoulder to help that tackle. So technique-wise, they've been bad at chipping him. He also makes it very hard to chip him. So, I mean, when I say that, it's part of him, too. But then he's doing other things, right? He's chasing things down when they try to sprint away. He's beating tackles. He's beating tackles with different moves. He can beat you with speed. He can beat you with power, but he can do he has the full package. And then if you watch a couple of his sacks last week, you're going to see one where Mason Graham makes the guy step up, and then he comes from the backside. You're going to see when he gets that sack coming around the edge, the right side of the defensive line kind of set the edge and made Lamar step up, and then he got him. So the power and the ability for the rest of the D-line to also be relentless is really helping him because he knows if he keeps coming, the quarterback might set up. The quarterback's going to be, right before this year, you could always go away from him. Now you cannot. All 4 of those guys rush so well. He's getting the matchups he likes. The rest of those guys are getting matchups they like, and they're all winning up front. That's why they've been so good up front because they're all winning their one-on-ones.
Yeah, it's incredible to see. I'm trying to figure out what has he done to take his game to the next level. And
well, the other thing he's done is he's played the run very well. So he has had
and that's what separates him. By the way, quick point on that. People are always like, oh, well, what's truly the difference between Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons? It can't be that much. Watch Micah Parsons try to run defense. It's a joke compared to Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's a complete player.
Well, and he's 280. So he's doing the things that Micah does, that Crosby does, all these guys who are elite pass rushers that are around 240 to 250. He's doing it 280 plus. So it's the idea that he can play the run, be heavy. He's also playing very team-oriented defense. He doesn't have to do the things where he has to make every play. So if he has to set the edge and let his Schlesinger run inside because he set the edge, he does that. So he's playing at a different level. He's playing the run really well, and I think he really believes in his teammates in that front seven.